Right, so today what we're going to do is we will briefly discuss our Ready to Learn grant. We'll provide an overview of some of the family and community resources. We'll primarily be talking about our family and community learning workshops and our out-of-school resources and camps. We'll also show you where to find these resources and then wrap up by highlighting some of the free PBS Kids apps. So Katie has been participating in the Ready to Learn grant for the last 5 years, and Ready to Learn is nearing the end of its 25th year. If you have used any of the resources in the past, like SuperY, Between the Lions, Maya and Miguel, or Odd Squad, you use Ready to Learn resources. So the Ready to Learn grant is a grant from the U.S. Department of Education and the Corporation for Public Broadcasting. Like I said, we are in the 5th year of a 5-year grant. This round of the Ready to Learn grant has specifically focused on science inquiry and the engineering design process and informational text. The grant looks at promoting early learning and school readiness and really strives to reach low-income children and families where they are. We are really looking at best practices and findings to build future innovations. So the grant is really looking at producing and disseminating evidence-based educational media and resources that are proven to advance the school readiness of children, especially children in low-income communities. You may recognize some of the PBS Kids programs that you see here on the screen. So for the 2015-2020 grant, we've been using these properties to promote STEM and informational text. So the Cat in the Hat knows a lot about that. Is geared toward children ages 3 to 5 and is looking at science inquiry, specifically physical science and engineering technology. The next one you may or not be familiar with. This is a new program that will be debuting on PBS Kids in September. Eleanor Wonders Why. Eleanor is a super curious rabbit with lots of questions, and she and her friends explore their community, ask questions, and find out the answers to those questions. So this program will focus on children ages 3 to 5, again looking at science inquiry, specifically life science, earth science, and engineering and technology with an emphasis on natural design. The next one you see is called Ready Jet Go. Ready Jet Go has been around PBS Kids for a few years now. Before this round of Ready to Learn, it really looked at space science, but with the focus of this grant, they really included a lot more earth science. So it's geared toward children ages 4 to 8, looking at science inquiry, and specifically earth and space science and engineering and technology. Ruff Ruffman has been around for many years. He's made a great comeback with this round of Ready to Learn. The program is geared toward children 4 to 8, again looking at science inquiry with physical science and engineering technology as the focus. And then finally, the last program that you see here is Molly of Denali. Molly is one of the newest PBS Kids resources. This program debuted in July of last year. It is geared toward children ages 4 to 8 and looks at literacy, specifically reading, writing, and comprehending informational text. So Molly is the first native Alaskan animated character to have a program on television, and so we're really excited about it. We've heard lots of great things from teachers across the nation using Molly of Denali over the last year. And while it says it's geared toward children ages 4 to 8, we've also heard of teachers in middle and high school using Molly of Denali as well. So I think it's a great program that you might find lots of resources to use in your classroom or to use at home with your families. All right. So the graphics that you see here in front of you are kind of two of the graphics that have been driving the work for this round of Ready to Learn. So the first one is the engineering design process. This is kind of helps you to, if you have a problem or if you run into a problem, to imagine and plan and solve that problem. So you can see here that we have define a problem, Once you know what that is, you can take a few minutes and imagine and plan what the solution to that problem might be. Once you have that kind of plan in place, looking to create that solution, testing it out, and then did it work or maybe it didn't work? You might need to go back and improve on that. And as you can see, it's all wrapped around in communication and collaboration, and those are woven throughout this process. The next graphic that you'll see is our science inquiry graphic. When most of us were introduced to science, we talked about the scientific method and kind of the steps in that process. But really what we want children and families and teachers to know is that you can enter into that process at any place. You might start with a question and then share ideas, or maybe you're observing and you're curious about something, so you want to know more about it. So these, we'll talk about these a little bit more as we go throughout this session, so be on the lookout for that. And then also I do want to share with you our informational text graphic. We'll not be talking about Molly of Denali and informational text just yet. We have more to come on that, but I do want you to be aware of that. Informational text is a very specific type of text. It includes informational or explanatory text. It also includes procedural or how-to text, biographical, function, and nonfiction narrative. So again, I just want you to see this, and we'll be sharing more with you about informational text in the future. Right, so moving on into talking about our family and community learning workshops. As we go through this, you may hear me revert back to saying FCL, Family and Community Learning, kind of the shorthand that we use, but I want you to know what I'm talking about. All right, so family and community learning workshops are a series of 4 workshops to engage whole families, and they are geared toward children ages 3 to 8. Some of them are more appropriate for children ages 3 through 5, some of them 5 through 8. But when I say the whole family, I really mean the whole family. So these have been planned and designed to include the whole family. There are specific jobs that different members of the family can do during the FCL, but we really want this to be a whole family experience. As we piloted these across the state, we've seen infants all the way up to high school siblings join in on the fun. We've had grandparents, aunts, uncles, cousins. So it's really great. We really want the whole family to be involved in the learning. So they are really looking at guided play through hands-on activities. They intend to foster collaboration, communication, and fun among the family members. We really want this to be a time for families to take a time out, to come together and really learn together and enjoy learning together. There's also a component of supporting the adults as part of this. So we really try to give families confidence in their ability to help their children learn. As we go through each of the nights of the 4 nights in the series, you'll see a particular pattern that takes place each week, and we really want to kind of set that routine for families as they're participating in the event. So we always begin with a meal. This is a really great opportunity for families to connect and really build a sense of community. As we've done these and piloted these across the state, we've noticed that a lot of times that very first night, kind of quiet. Families are really talking in their own individual families. But by the 4th night, it's really loud in the room. Families are interacting with each other. So it's a really great experience, and we really encourage you to offer that eat portion if there's any way possible. Then we move on to the explore portion of the night. We spend a little bit of time as a whole group, and then we divide up the kids and the grown-ups when appropriate. This really gives the grown-ups a chance to kind of learn the vocabulary, the concepts that we'll be talking about that evening, so that when they come back together with their kids, they're actually leading the learning as they navigate through each of the stations. During this time, the kids spend time with another facilitator, again, kind of learning that vocabulary, learning what we'll be talking about, and doing some fun activities. Once we come back together is our make time of the evening. We really give families an opportunity to navigate through different stations. It's all very hands-on. There are questions that families can use to prompt them to ask questions of their children as they're learning. So like I said, very hands-on and lots of fun. And then finally, we ask families to kind of come back together to share what they've learned, what questions they might still have, and then provide feedback on the evening. As we wrap up each evening, families always take away activities to continue the learning at home. Sometimes we've been able to offer books, and there are book suggestions that are available to you if you want to be able to provide those books. But there are also books that are listed on these take-home sheets so that families can go out and explore and look for those books on their own. So this is kind of the pattern that we follow each night of the 4 weeks. All right. A couple things to note about the FCLs, and then we'll talk about some of the very specific FCLs that are available. We want you to know that these FCLs are very flexible. They, for the most part, they can be done 4 weeks in a row. But if that doesn't work for your community, you can figure out a way to use it differently. Maybe you only have 2 nights. We'd be happy to talk you through any of that at any time if you want to contact us. That contact information will be at the end of the session. But we can help you brainstorm and think about how these FCLs might work best for you and your community. But just know that they are very flexible and you can use them how you need them to work. The second thing that I want to mention about the FCLs, they've designed thinking about materials that are very easily accessible or very cheap to purchase. Just know that as you're thinking about these, a lot of the materials can be gathered up by sending out a group email asking people to save their paper towel rolls and coffee cans and oatmeal containers. So a lot of recycled materials are used as part of the materials for this. Now, the first FCL that we're going to talk about is our PBS Kids Scratch Junior FCL. It is designed for families with kids aged 5 to 8. And again, we encourage older and younger siblings to attend. At one of the pilot sites, we had a middle school sibling attend, and he was super engaged and involved in this. He figured out how to do something in one of the activities, and he made his way around the room sharing with everybody about how to do it. So there really are jobs and activities, and it really is engaging for the entire family. So this FCL uses the PBS Kids Scratch Junior app, and it gives families the opportunity to explore STEM and core coding concepts. So you'll see in the next slide that the session 1 talks about what is a maker. So really opening families up to the idea of creating and being a maker. The second session goes on and introduces families to what is coding. It introduces very basic coding concepts to families. It introduces the tools that are used in the PBS Kids Scratch Junior app to help them code. There's some real fun hands-on activities to help them kind of become familiar with the tiles and the coding concepts in the PBS Kids Scratch Junior app. Session 3 looks at that engineering design process a little bit more in depth. And families also start to create a story using the PBS Kids Scratch Junior app in this session. In session 4, families wrap up their stories and have an opportunity to share those stories that they've created in the app with the other families. And really, we spend some time during this session celebrating families and celebrating the work that they've done as part of this 4-part series. So it's a lot of fun and really a great way to wrap up the series. All right, the next FCL that we're going to talk about is our Rough Roughman FCL. This is designed for families with kids aged 5 to 8, and again, they're older, younger, and siblings. Families really have an opportunity to look at the science, inquiry, and engineering design practices in this. It is very hands-on, lots of fun, and I will say that even though it says it's geared toward ages 5 to 8, we find that older and younger siblings really are able to get into the activities for this. Anecdotally, I'll also say that we found that dads really enjoy this one. We've seen a lot of family involvement, but this is one that we've seen a lot of dads get into. So the first session it's called Mix It Up. It's playing with mixtures. So we talk about mixing and unmixing and different types of mixtures. Session 2 is Material World. It investigates material science, again, very hands-on. Families get to dress up either a family member or a stuffed animal and think about different materials and what kind of jobs they might have to do. The third session is Stick or Slide. It looks at exploring force and motion. And then finally, session 4 is called Build It Up, and it is learning about structures. Again, lots of hands-on fun and learning that happens in each of these sessions. All right, we'll talk about our Play and Learn Science FCL next. This one is designed for children and families ages 3 to 5, of course, with their younger and older siblings. This one uses the PBS Kids Play and Learn Science app as the base for everything that takes place during the session. Kids are able to get creative and play and explore during this session, and they are looking at developing science and engineering knowledge, practices, and perspectives. So in this session, we look at the first session looks at ramps and rolls. The second session looks at shadow play. The third session looks at weather and gear, and the fourth session looks at water play. So in each of these sessions, families spend a little bit of time. You can see here, this is kind of our schedule that happens. But again, we always begin with that eat. We have a time for families together, a time for families to explore and share, and then we wrap up each night. Again, just keep in mind that we always try to follow that same kind of pattern each night so families become familiar and become comfortable and know what to expect each evening. All right, the next one is our Cat in the Hat Knows a Lot About That FCL. It's designed for families with kids aged 3 to 5. And really, this one looks at the science inquiry and extending concepts discovered by the Cat in the Hat. So session 1 for this one is all sorts of things. It's a lot of fun. We have all kinds of different materials that are set out for families to think about sorting. It's really interesting. We can, adults can think of all different types of ways that kids might sort something, but it never fails that kids find a different way to sort that we might not have expected. So lots of fun during the session to see children's thought processes and how they sort things in this session. Session 2 is looking at play ball, and we get to explore lots of different balls and how they bounce and how they roll. So lots of hands-on exploration takes place in this session. Next one is Going, Going, Gone, and then the fourth session is Building Bridges. All right. So those are the FCLs that are currently available, and again at the end we'll show you how to access them. But we have 2 FCLs that we expect to be available, one shortly, Ready, Jet, Go. We are hoping will be made available on PBS Learning Media very soon. It was piloted last summer and last spring, and so we have submitted suggestions and changes that we thought needed to be made to it. And so we think that will be finalized and available very shortly. The other one is our Molly of Denali FCL. This one has been started piloting this spring, and so we know that that there's still some more piloting that will need to be done on that one. So it probably will be closer to next year before the Molly of Denali FCL is available. But we'll be sure to let you all know through our social media channel when that one is available on PBS Learning Media. All right, so let's talk a little bit about our out-of-school resources and camps. These resources are, again, very flexible. They can be used for those of you all that may already have a kind of day camp structure in place. But these are also great for libraries and science centers and other places that are looking for programming to implement. So the first one is the Sensational Science Camp with Ruff Ruffman, and then we also have Be the Agent Science Camp. So Odd Squad Be the Agent Camp is designed for children ages 5 to 8. Children actually get to become Odd Squad agents. And if you haven't seen Odd Squad before, it's lots of fun. There are all kinds of odd and unusual problems that come up, and the children solve those problems using math knowledge, science inquiry, and the engineering design process, and of course, lots of creativity. Campers can spend 5 days solving these odd cases, and then each day there's also an opportunity to get creative and create some gadgets using teamwork. Again, like I said, these are very flexible. So if you only are looking for a half day day camp type of situation, you could very easily shorten this. But each day there are 2 cases that are introduced to kids, one typically in the morning and one typically in the afternoon. During the middle of the day, between the cases, children get to participate in a gadget lab where they create something, again, using lots of recycled and reused materials to solve a problem. So on day 1, you'll see that the case of Common Chris is the morning case, and then the afternoon case is the return of Symmetrical Owl. On day 2, we have the case of the Doobles, Snoobles, and Oobles, lots of fun there. And then in the afternoon, Mrs. O's coldest cases. Day 3, we look at the tidal wave of tens, and then the case of the Trophy Room Bandit. On day 4, my favorite one is the case of the Centigerbs that keep escaping, and then in the afternoon, the case of the Places Trading. Then we also have the case of Mrs. O's missing badge, and who is the Patternista. Again, this is a very flexible camp. You can use it how it makes the most sense for you. If you're only going to do maybe a one-day camp, you could choose the one that makes the most sense for you. You can also kind of think about your audience. Maybe you only have rising kindergartners that are just 5. So maybe you would really want to look at who's the Patternista, thinking about patterns, maybe something they've had a little bit of exposure to, but that would be a skill that they would need in kindergarten. Maybe you have older kids that are participating in this. You can always add in additional resources. There's lots of great resources outside of Odd Squad for children from PBS Kids that you could use to kind of raise that level up for those older kids. And again, we're always available if you'd like to talk through that, about how you can add in some more challenging concepts or kind of scale it back for some younger kids. So the next one that we're going to talk about is our Sensational Science Camp with Ruff Ruffman. Again, this is designed for children ages 5 to 8 years old, and then kids get to use their science inquiry practice, the engineering design process, and lots of creativity as they navigate through this day camp. And so we're going to take a look. This is our friends from WFSU in Tallahassee, Florida, and they recorded this video, and so you can take a look and see kind of what happens at the Ruff Ruffman Sensational Science Camp.
This camp is Ruff Ruffman Sensational Science Camp. It's all about the engineering design process and science inquiry. Every component of Sensational Science Camp is intentional. So we pick an episode and we pair it with activities, and we pair it with another piece of PBS Kids digital content that all makes this package for learning.
Oh, Ruffman, show!
We started with a clip from Ruff Ruffman. He has some kind of problem, and the show is great because kids actually help Ruff solve these problems.
I need something to keep him dry in the rain so we can get out for that walk. I need to make a raincoat out of some kind of material I can find in this house. Can you test different materials and tell me what to use?
For sure! Yeah!
Ruff Ruffman's a perfect kicking off point for those topics.
This relates to everything that we're doing in this camp, and this relates to what we're doing today.
We separate out into groups. Each person in each group has a different role that they're fulfilling for that project.
We're going to use this piece. It's to protect from the sun, so he won't get too hot on his head.
It's just about asking questions and testing things and improving on them, and then asking more questions about that. And you're a scientist when you do that.
There you go. Extra reinforcement.
After we do our projects, we all refer back to our journals and we talk about what we noticed and what we investigated and what our results were like. And we compare and we share.
We put this see-through box so rain does not get on her face.
Every sensational science camp that we do, there's always something new that happens.
All right, so you can see lots of fun happening there at the Rough Roughmen Sensational Science Camp. A couple things that you may have noticed in the video that I want to mention. In all of the FCLs and all of the out-of-school camp resources, you'll see video clips from PBS Kids from our RTL properties. You'll also see, get a chance to play and experience different games and apps. And then there are always take-home materials that go home with families and children so that they can continue that learning at home. Again, you also may have noticed in the video that they were using lots of recycled materials. And again, when these resources were designed, they really were looking to make them cost effective so that people across the nation could use them in their own communities. All right, so the kind of schedule for the Rough Roughmen camp, day 1 is Mix It Up, playing with mixtures. Day 2 is Material World, investigating material science, and that's what you got to see there in that video. Day 3 is Stick or Slide, and it explores force and motion. Day 4 is Build It Up, and it's learning about structures. And then day 5 is the finale, where you kind of take a look back at days 1 through 4 and talk about what kids learned, and then also giving kids a chance to revisit those concepts a little bit and ask any remaining questions they might have or things that they thought of since that topic was introduced. We have one more camp experience that we expect to be available very soon. This is Ready, Jet, Go Space Camp, a space exploration camp. This is a camp that we piloted last summer. It's lots of fun, lots of hands-on, lots of great stuff for kids to really dig in and learn about. So be looking for that in the next couple months, again on PBS Learning Media. So as I mentioned, PBS Learning Media is where all of these resources are located. So we'll take a look around so you can know exactly where to find them when you're ready to use them in your community. So when you go to PBS Learning Media, you'll go to the Ready to Learn resources. We'll be sure to send the link to you, and you can check them out for yourself. They are available in the Educator resources. You can see here on the drop-down menu in the PBS Kids Out of School resources and the PBS Kids Family and Community Learning resources. Everything that you need is here. I would suggest that you start with the facilitator guide. So this guide is something that you can download and take a look at. It was created using tips and information that we found as we piloted them. It kind of lays out why each step is included in the FCLs. It gives you, again, tips and tricks that you can use to make it successful in your community. You can also watch a few videos learning about some of the FCLs and the engineering design process. But the overview guide has everything that you need. It lists your materials list. It lists kind of the schedule of events. It's even got just bullet points if you just need the bullet points to kind of help you through each of the sessions. Or if you're a little bit less comfortable, it's got some very detailed notes that you can use to kind of help you implement this. You can see the family handouts are available here, the daily schedule, the placemats. This is used during the mealtime to get families started on the learning. There are center support cards, so these can be placed on the tables as prompts for families to ask questions of their children as they're going through each station and learning. We have our Science at Home resources, so again, listing things that families can do at home and books that they might be interested in finding. And then because this is, a continued process, this is not just a kind of one-time deal. There's certificates available, so that fourth night you can really celebrate families' accomplishments and participation in the FCL. So lots of great resources, again, here for you to be able to download and use, and they're all free to use. Very similar with our out-of-school resources, all of the materials that you would need to implement the out-of-school resources here. We have the facilitator guide, again, that includes the materials list, very detailed information about implementing. One thing that I haven't mentioned as part of each FCL and camp experience are our curiosity journals. So these are used throughout the series for families or children to document, thinking back to that engineering process, to define their problem, to a space for them to create and plan, and then what worked, what didn't work, how are they going to improve it. So this is a really great tool to kind of keep track of what they've been doing, and something that they get to take home as they finish up the camp or FCL. There's also a parent letter that's available for each day of the camp, so families know what their children have been learning during the day and how they can continue that learning at home. You can also see here that we have take-home materials that they can use so to continue that learning at home, and then session slides. So this is a really great tool to kind of help keep you on track as you go throughout the day into the camp. And we also have certificates available for you to be able to give kids as they wrap up the week. Another tip that I just want to mention with our camp experiences, to kind of maybe think of it as a more cost-effective resource for you. In the past, when we have piloted these, we've worked with a lot of family resource centers that have summer feeding sites set up on that same location. And so families are able to bring their kids in time for breakfast, and then we offer programming in the morning. We break for the summer feeding lunches, and then come back together for afternoon sessions. So that's a really cost-effective way that you may be able to implement those out-of-school resources and camps in your community. All right. So just a couple of things, tools that you can use and to help you become a little bit more familiar with the PBS Kids resources. This is our PBS Kids Learning Goals sheet. This is a really great sheet if, like I said, you're not maybe as familiar with some of the PBS Kids programs. This just tells you about the learning goals for each program. So you can see there at the top in pink, we have our social and emotional learning. So these are all the PBS Kids properties that hit on that social emotional learning. You can see there on the left-hand side, Daniel Tiger. In the lighter purple box, you can see that Daniel Tiger is geared toward children ages 2 to 4. And then finally, it really focuses on social and emotional learning. Down just a little bit with like Caillou, you see the 24/7. And this means that this program no longer airs on either our regular PBS Kids programming, but it is on the 24/7 channel, so that's where you can locate that. So this is, again, just a great tool for you to be able to look at the PBS Kids programming if you're looking for a specific area of learning or a specific topic. This is a very similar sheet, and this is the free apps. So again, this just lists the PBS Kids apps that are available and tells you what the learning goals are for those apps. So again, under social emotional development, we have Daniel Tiger for parents. Under STEM, you can see there at the top, we have Cyber Chase. So this is a program that's geared towards 5 to 8 and really looking at math. So just a great tool as you're looking for apps to help you identify ones that might make the most sense for you and your kids. All of the PBS Kids apps, if you're looking to learn more about any of the apps, you can visit pbskids.org. And you can select the apps. You can find out more about them. You can look if you have a specific type of device. You can search for apps that way. So you can see all the different types of devices listed. So you can select which device you have and find out what apps are available for that device. You can also, there's also different resources available. There are PBS Kids albums, episodes, ebooks, and other things that are available. So lots of great information here for you to learn more about the PBS Kids apps. If you need any help, if you want to find out any more information about the FCLs or the Family Community Learning Workshops or the camps out of school resources that we've talked about today, you can contact us at nti@ket.org.